A few years ago, after I completed school, I found myself in a tough spot, struggling, unemployed, and desperate for a way out. I spent hours scrolling through my social media looking for something, anything that could offer a solution. Then one day, I stumbled upon a man on Facebook who seemed to have the answers. He was a spiritual leader, teaching about powerful rituals and solutions to life's problems. Intrigued by his teachings, I decided to follow him. Over time, I became more drawn to his knowledge. He spoke with such authority on matters of wealth, success, and spiritual growth that I began to believe he could change my life. So, I took the plunge and reached out to him through Facebook. When I messaged him, he responded quickly, and we began talking more frequently. He offered me guidance and told me he could help me perform rituals to gain wealth. But there was a condition. I needed to send him 600 Ghana cedis first. At that moment, I didn't have the money. However, desperation made me determined to find it. I borrowed from friends and family, making excuses for why I needed the money, and eventually, I managed to scrape together the 600 cedis. I sent it to him, hoping this would be the first step toward a better life. The spiritual leader then gave me a specific instructions. He told me that if I wanted to become wealthy, I would have to visit a cemetery. My task was to collect bones from dead and decomposed bodies and to also capture a snake from the cemetery grounds. He assured me that these items were necessary for a money ritual that would bring me untold riches. I was horrified at the idea, but again, desperation overrode my fear. Fortunately, or perhaps unfortunately for me, a funeral was happening near where I lived. I joined the mourners as they headed to the cemetery, pretending to pay my respect. Once there, I slipped away from the crowd and wandered around the graves. It felt like my heart was pounding out of my chest, but I managed to find some bones that were old and rotted, and to my shock, I even found a snake. With a trembling hand, I captured it and hurried out of the cemetery. I delivered the bones and the snake to the spiritual leader, thinking my ordeal was over, but he had more demands. He told me there were 2 additional steps before the ritual would be complete. First, I had to visit a mortuary. I was to take a white handkerchief and a bottle, dip the handkerchief into the water used to bathe corpses, wring it out into the bottle, and bring it to him. The thought was repulsive, but I had already come this far, so I pushed forward. After completing this gruesome task, I informed him. He sent a couple of his boys to collect the items from me as promised. He explained that he would mix the bones, the snake, and the corpse water into a special pomade, which I was to use as part of the ritual. But that wasn't all. He gave me one final bizarre instruction. I had to go to the seaside and masturbate there every evening for 41 days. According to him, my wealth was hidden in the sea, and this ritual would unlock it. He was very specific about the details. I had to go around 5 or 6 p.m. dressed like someone out for a jog, so no one would suspect anything. Each evening, I would go to the beach, find a secluded spot, and carry out his instructions. Onlookers thought I was just exercising, but deep down, I knew what I was doing. Each night felt more humiliating than the last, but I convinced myself it would all be worth it in the end. After 41 days, I returned to him, hoping that this bizarre journey was finally coming to an end. But no, he gave me a bag and instructed me to place it in my room. For the next 10 days, I had to continue masturbating and releasing my semen into the bag. He assured me that once this was done, I would find money inside the bag and my life would be transformed. I followed his instructions to the letter, clinging to the belief that all my suffering would soon be over. On the 10th day, I eagerly opened the bag, expecting to find riches. Instead, what greeted me were cockroaches and ants. My heart sank. I had done everything he asked, and yet there was nothing but felt inside the bag. Panic set in. I tried calling and testing him, but there was no response. He stopped answering my calls and my messages went unanswered. I felt like a fool. Worse still, my life began to spiral out of control. At night, I would have terrifying dreams of children chasing me, crying for housekeeping money. In these dreams, I would try to eat, then the children would swarm around me, devouring everything. Then as quickly as they appeared, they would vanish, leaving me alone in my misery. The dreams felt disturbingly real, and I would wake up drenched in sweat. In real life, things weren't much better. I worked hard, but no matter how much money I earned, it seemed to slip through my fingers like sand. I was constantly broke, and no amount of effort seemed to improve my situation. On top of that, I began experiencing severe health issues, a burning sensation when I urinated, and strange discharges that left me feeling ashamed and terrified. I have grown weak, both physically and mentally. I don't know what to do anymore. This man whom I thought would help me has only led me deeper into despair. Pastor, I am suffering. Please help me. I don't know how much more I can take.